Also brought to you by the Boatyard in Fort Lauderdale. Eat local, but stay coastal at the Boatyard Restaurant. The Boatyard is located at 1555 Southeast 17th Street in Fort Lauderdale. That means you can come by boat or you can come by car. Enjoy the nautical atmosphere whether you sit inside in the cold AC or outside on the patio bar. The Boatyard has something for everyone. Monday through Friday, happy hour, where local favorite is bar bites and handcrafted cocktails. Open for lunch, dinner, and the popular Sunday brunch. And don't forget, Ladies' Night, every Thursday night from 7 to 10 p.m. where ladies drink free. Dock and dine at the famous Boatyard in Fort Lauderdale. I am sure you'll have a great experience.
Clear the airways. The Lunker Dog is on the air.
Are you ready? This is the Real Guy Podcast.
But the main reason I don't do like live target or any artificial bait,
swim bait or something,
is they're $10. Maybe some are 8, maybe some are 12.
Maybe some
the
would
fucking
be
spool tech's 20.
Yeah.
And then we eat into your crazy margins as it is. God forbid.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, in one night you lose 2 or 3. I mean.
Well, the way, and then when you're fishing those kind of baits, I mean, you will lose 3, 4, 5 a night. You'll lose 2 a night just because the clients throw them up on the dock or in a ship or something like that.
Or a barracuda slashes one, and there you go.
Yeah. So that's the only reason I don't use artificial.
I agree, and I don't either. But if I can get on their pro team and work out a deal with them where I'm using their baits and, stockpiling them, I'll have artificial days.
All right.
I'll just say, you guys are good casters. You mind if let's fish some artificials today?
Right.
Try it for as long as we can. If we're catching fish, we stick with it. If we don't, we bail out. We go get some bait, and we continue the day. Or it's a big part of the day. It's hard to say. They make a croaker that's this big.
I saw that.
And that thing swims just like a freaking croaker, man.
And the snooks eat it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I think you could go to Jupiter and right to the bottom. Right in the school of snook, right? Instead of going like this, they're going to go like this. I mean, I think they're just going to eat the shit out of that thing.
Oh, let's find out. That's awesome. You got a relationship with Live
Well,
Target.
I'm trying. It's through a guy named Jeff Page, who's a guy out of Sarasota, and he is the only saltwater ambassador that they have at this point. They've got 5 or 6 freshwater guys.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Well, welcome to the Real Guy Podcast. We're sitting down in downtown Fort Lauderdale with the president of the Broward chapter of the CCA, Mike Lambrehcts. He's here for another episode. Good to have you, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
And very special guest tonight, the legendary Chokoloskee King, Brian Sanders. Very happy to have Brian in tonight. Got a chance to know Brian over the last few years. And stand-up guy, real guy, the type of guy that, you want to go fishing with. Brian, what's the name of your charter business?
Just website is Sanders Outdoor Guide.
SandersOutdoorGuide.com?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get Brian. Brian is, we're going to get into it in the podcast, but he is the guy in Chokoloskee. I don't have a whole lot of experience in Chokoloskee. I've only fished out of there a couple times. And Mike Lambrehcts was, he was graceful enough. He was nice enough to ask me to go on a trip with his buddy Brian.
That's putting it nicely, Jeff.
Yeah, I work hard to make it nice. But, so, of course, I wanted to go.
So he didn't have to beg you.
Right.
He just said, hey, let's go fishing with Brian. And
right.
That was it.
And Brian also participated in the last LunkerCon that we had here in Fort Lauderdale. And it was great to have him. And he brought one of his sponsors, Starbright, with him. And we had a blast that night. So I wanted to go fishing with Brian. And Mike made it happen. So anyway, you guys are going to hear about Brian Sanders tonight. Brian, first of all, thanks for just an incredible fishing trip the other day.
Yeah, it was awesome. Had a great time. I
mean, I don't get a chance, to fish, for fun that much anymore. So when I do, I don't just go with anybody. And I've been friends with Mike for a long time, and I haven't even been able to take him tarpon fishing. So when he asked me to go fishing with you, being summertime and not being so crazy busy, I jumped on it. And I got to tell you, it was a pleasure.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
I'd like you to return the favor. I'd like to go tarpon fishing with you one night.
Absolutely.
I'd love to. Just, August is not a busy time for me and probably you as well. It's the middle of summer. Kids are getting ready to go back to school. And so I've got some free days and free nights. So, yeah, if the fish are biting, let's go. Let's go kill a night.
Brian, sorry to interrupt, Brian, but you might have to. Jeff's boat might have to just randomly float down the canal, and you might have to rescue his boat just like I did to get invited on a trip. Now, the trip hasn't
that's the way it works.
yet, but you got to do something for Jeff. But you
So
know
you
what?
had to
Now
bring that up, didn't
Now
you?
that I think about it, you've done something for Jeff, so you've qualified. So I think you got 2 people in front of you here now,
All right, cool.
Jeff, that got to go.
Cool. I might have an invite then.
Well, I've been wanting to take Mike for a long time, and a couple of times we had it scheduled, and I just couldn't make it work out. And a lot of times, you know, we're dealing with each other, you know, around his when he was with the sail club, now the CCA events, and it's, you know how it is. It's hard to take your buddies fishing in the middle of the season.
No question.
You know, you got to.
Nor do I want to do it. I'm just too busy, and I just feel it's not fair to the clients the next day, and it's not fair to my buddies because, you know, I'm in that mode. I'm work mode every day, working,
Right.
fishing. You know, let's just do it when I'm not so beat up and not so rushed, and I just feel like I'm just too rushed during those times.
I was listening to a podcast with the Captain's Collective group, and there was a kid on there that called the season hay time. And I guess he comes from a farming family. And there's a time when
Time to make hay, right?
Yeah, there's a time to make hay. You got to stop and not worry about anything else and get ready for the long summers that we have. And so, yeah, during the hay time, it's real tough. But you guys should come fishing with me at the end of next month, end of September, beginning of October.
When the mullet run.
Right, the mullet migration will be coming through.
That's what made you famous, if I'm not mistaken, right, Jeff?
No, I made me famous. The mullet run.
I stand corrected.
Well,
Right.
here's
we
my...
made the mullet run famous. Nobody
Yeah,
even talked
nobody
about
even
the
knew.
mullet run.
We all knew about
Right, a
it as
couple
local
local-
guys
right.
here, and we would somewhat take advantage of it, but it wasn't on a huge, big scale like
What's
that.
the mullet run? Is there a mullet run in Chokoloskee?
We do. We get
there is a mullet
we get a
run.
spring and a fall mullet run.
For those who don't know, maybe those that are not from Florida or listening outside, where is Chokoloskee? I mean, this is
Well,
sounds like a crazy
Chokoloskee
place.
is just a small little island that sits on basically the northern end of Everglades National Park. So the main city there, which is not a very big city, is called Everglades City. So what happens is if you leave Everglades City and you travel south down the coast, about 50, 60 miles or so, you're into Florida Bay. So basically, that's about as big as the park is, what they call Everglades National Park. It used to be called the 10,000 Islands, and there's probably less of those now because we've had some major hurricanes go through there and destroy some of the islands. But now it's called Everglades National Park when the government purchased it some 75 years ago, and also known as the 10,000 Islands. So it's 30 miles or 40 miles kind of southeast of Marco. So that would be the closest, I guess, biggest city to Everglades City.
Okay. Now you've you got deep roots in Everglades City, correct?
Yeah, so I grew up on the East Coast in Pompano and Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Went to local high schools, elementary schools, that kind of stuff, and lived for the weekends. So my father, my grandfather, my dad's got 3 brothers. We had and still have a place in Chokoloskee that's just a mobile home, but it's nice. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So I had the luxury of growing up there on the weekends and hanging out, fishing with my grandfather, my dad, his brothers.
So that's real Florida
since
cracker
I
stuff,
can remember, man.
right? That's real Florida cracker
Real
stuff.
Florida crap. I mean, there was a guy that had a place right next door. His name was Andy McLean, and he wrote every year he would come out with this Fishing Mate magazine that was a tide chart. Later on, a guy named Mike purchased it, and it was called Mike's Tide Charts. But years ago, it was called the Fishing Mate, and that guy was like one of the premier guys back then, and he made a living trolling. That's what he did. Trolling number 3 yellow reflecto spoons and like sometimes a 52M 18 greenback mirror lure, and that was his deal.
That's funny. That's funny because in the 80s, down here in Los Olas Boulevard in the canals, that's kind of what we did. We'd troll a reflecto spoon or a drone spoon or a big white bucktail and just troll around. And it was amazing how many nice fish you could catch.
You would think the fish would spook from the boat, and I think they kind of gets their attention.
Well, I tell
The boat
you,
goes by, and then here comes the lure, and they just pile on that thing.
well, I tell you, here in Broward and Dade anymore, I think the the fish are almost attracted to the boat.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
They associate it with food, right?
Oh,
Just like the sharks associate it with food, too.
Oh, the sharks, dude.
We don't have enough time to talk about those guys. But anyways, let me get back to so I grew up, Chokoloskee was weekends and summers, lived for it, worked to support my fishing habit as a young man in my 16, 17 range, years old. Decided those later years in high school, junior, senior years, I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to fish, so skipped a lot, played hooky,
Right.
but learned that everybody liked fish, the teachers especially. So if I could go fishing and butter them up and bring them some fish, I
Very diplomatic.
excused absences. So I learned the Ponzi scheme early on in life, how to do all that stuff. But anyways, no, and I spent a lot of time fishing over there. And as I got older, it's all I wanted to do. I mean, I lived for it. And I also grew up in Pompano and was part of the early revolution in tournament fishing in Pompano, where guys like Timmy Maddock and Casey Hunt and Art Sapp and Skip Dana and all these guys, Danny Massa, Jeremy Houston, Jamie Bunn, all these guys, we kind of all grew up together and all kind of figured out how to fish the tournaments and that kind of stuff. And we all competed against each other. And those were years that I would never trade. I wouldn't trade those for anything. I had some special times, had really, really good fishing. And, just awesome times there.
Yeah, I tell people all the time growing up, I always talk about Fort Lauderdale Beach, but Pompano's the next, city north of us. But in those times, growing up here in, Southeast Florida and being coastal like that, if you fished and you were into it, you knew everybody that fished and that was into it. It was a pretty tight-knit community.
And it still is, I think. I mean,
it is, but it's filled with a
more
bunch of
people,
jerk-offs and stuff now.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not near as pure as it used to be.
No.
Did you mention, you said Tim Maddock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, the first time I met that guy.
Timmy Fisherboy Maddock online.
Well, that's his son.
Oh, that's his kid.
Yeah, his kid's following in his footsteps. So I don't really know his son that well, but Timmy and I went to high school together and grew up, and Timmy would come over and fish a few tournaments with me on the West Coast, and did very well, won a couple of those tournaments with he and Casey fishing with me. And here we are fishing in the artificial division in what they call the Red Snook tournament out of Naples, and these guys had never used artificial before, and we're competing against guys that win it every year, and we beat them. We beat them 2 years in a row. Yeah. But yeah, Timmy is one of the best anglers on a rod that I've ever seen. Incredible angler. Yeah, great fisherman, incredible angler. But his son, who is maybe in his early 20s now, I think is following in his footsteps and probably just as good.
First time I ever met Tim, I was at this place on Las Olas called YOLO. And if for you guys that know YOLO, or for those that don't know YOLO, YOLO is it's a somewhat upscale bar in a very upscale area here, and generally where they valet park the Lamborghinis and the Porsches in front.
It's a fancy nightclub with a good chef.
Yeah, I was being modest.
With a good chef, huh? Nice.
Yeah, food's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I saw this.
Speaking of food, man, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I know. We'll work on that. But I was sitting down at the bar there for a drink, and I see this truck. I think it was a lifted pickup truck roll in, diesel. And he pulls the tailgate down, and there's about a 12-foot gator in the back of this truck, and this guy valets his truck right out in front of YOLO next to the Lamborghinis and the Porsches with a big old dead gator in the back of his truck
with a tag in it, I'm sure.
Yeah. It was gator season, and he just tagged the gator, and
he just had to go there and get something to eat, right? That's where you go.
Shows up to YOLO, grabs a drink, and sits at the bar. And
couldn't just go to the takeout sushi place right down the street. We got to go there, right?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Show off the alligator.
I mean, I was envious. I really was.
YOLO, well, you only live once, right?
Yeah, man.
I guess so.
It's funny you mentioned YOLO because YOLO's part of the restaurant group that just sponsored the podcast.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the restaurant group? That's Petrillo, Tim Petrillo, and all those folks.
Right. Bimini Boatyard is now the
good
official
people.
sponsor of the Real Guy podcast.
So Tim, what's Tim's last name?
Petrillo?
Petrillo, yeah. I met him
Good
years
guy.
ago.
He's a nice kid.
Yeah.
Really good kid. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of funny how you bring that up. But the fishing trip that we went on, let's get into that a little bit.
Sure.
Because it seemed like to me, it was like clockwork for you. You know what I mean? Mike and I get on the road about, 6:30 or so?
Yeah, around that time.
6:30 or so. We want to meet Brian over in Chokoloskee, so it's like an hour and a half away. And we roll up there, and this nice little marina and spot where Brian keeps his boat, and it's a place where we can get ice and fuel and all that.
What about the gas station with the gators? Remember that little gas station we stopped at to grab some coffee, and you look at the little creek that's right next to the gas station, and there's a bunch of baby gators rolling around there, and that's when you know you're getting into Jurassic Park. And I call Chokoloskee, I think it's the true Jurassic Park of fishing.
Yeah, well,
It's all available there.
I don't know if it's Jurassic Park of fishing, but it's damn. I mean, we caught fish at every spot, and like really, I mean, it was like clockwork. We pull up. Brian's pretty much ready to rock and roll. We get some ice and a couple little things. We jump in the boat. We go around the corner fast. I haven't gone that fast in the boat all day long in a long time.
I mean, we were only doing 35 probably.
That's all.
Okay.
I don't know if my boat's ever even seen 35.
I don't think I drive that fast. But
No,
okay.
but dude, the way we fished, I mean, we had to go fast. But anyway.
Well, we tried to just pack it all in one day. You know, I'm like, all right, man, I got the world famous lunker dog today, man. I got to show lunker dog what's up. So we need to run around. We need to do this, and this, and we need to fit it all in an 8-hour day. So.
Well, we did, and it was a phenomenal job. But like we leave the marina, and I don't know, we run around maybe a mile or so, and we stop to get some bait. And if I remember correctly, your shoulder was bugging you.
Both of them, yeah. You're still having issues with that.
Yeah. I think it's going to be ongoing.
I think it's just years of abuse and, cast nets.
I don't think people realize
Early morning.
that when
Yeah,
you're a
right.
professional guide and you're doing 200 plus trips a year, it's no different than any type of other professional athlete.
No question.
You're going to live with pain. It's something you're going to have to manage, something you're going to have to deal with. You can't get away from it. I don't know anybody that's been in the business, for even a few years that doesn't have to deal with
Well, you can get away from it, just don't do it.
right. No, maybe that's why so many drug addicts and alcoholics are in our business
Yeah,
also.
just don't do it, right?
No,
That's great. So that's what I got to look forward to.
Well,
huh?
you can be a pro and stay away from it, but
Okay.
maybe, just maybe.
Whatever happened to that guy? Yeah, he's a drug addict, alcoholic now.
But that's very prevalent in our business.
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
it's kind of weird. You would think that, in our business, you wouldn't get into those types of elements, but maybe there's a correlation with, the pain.
Yeah, just mask the pain and just get through the day. Sure.
Right. You get through the day and you pick it up, and the next day starts. And,
Starts all over again.
and all you can think about is getting through that day.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I got two guys that I know real well here, and both are family guys and care a lot about their families. And, I don't ever see that ever being a priority on these guys' list. So, I think I'm in rare company when it comes to the stereotype. Are you looking for a beer, Jeff?
Yeah.
Well,
Let
me show you something here. All right.
All right, so Mike-
Well, I brought you a
Yeah,
little.
you got some fancy beer
Mike brought
here.
some fancy brewskis.
So I actually, it was just, you guys were wondering why I was late, and I apologize for that. It was 3 minutes late. You guys were early, and I was amazed by that. So bravo to you. We are having a CCA committee meeting over at Gulfstream Brewery here in Fort Lauderdale, which is a great sponsor of ours. And I asked the owner, McKay, I said, McKay, why don't you can me up a couple of crowlers, and let's show the guys some
Nice.
let's show the guys some really good beer here. So I know that you're looking for a beer here, Jeff, and I'm a little thirsty as well. This beer actually happens to be a special beer that we brewed ourselves called the John Michael Baker, the JMB Reef Ale, and we sunk a reef here, as some of your listeners have heard about before, and we created a beer based on that reef, which we've just scheduled our second deployment coming up in September.
That's awesome.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's real
so
cool.
I'm gonna crack this open for you guys, and you let me know if you like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I won't need another one after this.
It's
This is,
very foamy and very big.
What is that thing, a 40?
I don't think
We've been rolling with a 40.
that reminds you of what it was like to be in Georgia back in the day. Here you go, Jeff.
Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of beers, we just scheduled the LunkerCon 2019. Yeah, I think we're going to
Where
do
and
it.
when?
We're going to do it September 7th. I totally screwed up last week. I was telling everybody September 9th. That's like a Tuesday. Then I looked
Probably
back.
wanna do
Well, if
it
you
on
get a discount on the restaurant, I mean,
Saturday night, right? Saturday night. Is that what it
Saturday,
is?
yeah, we're going to do it on Saturday night. So anyway.
That's cool. I can attend that.
Cool. Yeah, because I was going to say last time you came to LunkerCon, that was like, I don't know, kind of like the ice breaking between us. We got to know each other a little bit.
Yeah.
He actually
Had a great time.
Yeah, everybody I thought had a great time. The thing that I liked so much about that LunkerCon is when you looked across the room and you saw all the great fishermen that were hanging out and
There's a
having
bunch
good
of them
time.
there, yeah, no doubt.
You know, I think that
And everybody was just hanging out, talking about fishing, which is the common bond that we all have.
yeah.
There's nobody that's better than anybody else. I mean, I was talking to
No drama.
lots of guys and got people. What freaked me out more than anything is I fish on the West Coast. I live on the East Coast, but I don't spend a lot of time out and about here just because of my schedule. And if I do, it's out west. Here we are on the east side of town, and I've got people coming up to me, introducing themselves to me, telling me that they know me and if I have a mutual friend and this and that. And that happened to me not only once or twice, but about 10 times.
Yeah.
And it just freaked me out that these people knew who I was.
Well, the social network that we have, Brian, is really in tune, you know, with the guys that are actually fishing, the guys that are actually catching stuff. So when you bring them all together and then they see you, dude, not only, you know, were they nice about it, but it was exciting for them. They're like, man, that's Brian Sanders over there.
Right.
And those dudes that are into Everglades National Park, Chokoloskee, they want to be next to you.
They spend
wanna,
any time there.
They
yeah,
want to
sure.
talk to you. They want to take a picture with you.
No doubt.
You know, and, you know, the guides are cool with it. And like you said, a lot of your dogs were there. Art Sapp.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a big deal.
Skip Dana was there.
Skip
yeah.
was there.
Yep.
And,
We love old Skipper.
right, some of the dudes that fished out of Flamingo, Benny, and,
Benny Blanco's now. He's got a show, Florida Sportsman Show.
yeah.
What about Carl Ball? Was Carl Ball there?
Carl
was
was there.
there. Oh, yeah.
Hobalis was there.
Jeez.
I mean, they were
Who
all
wasn't,
there.
who
Peter
wasn't
Miller
there
was
is what
there,
I
right?
want to know.
Shh, not-
Peter Miller? Yeah, Peter
I think
Miller
Peter
showed
Miller
up.
was there.
I tell you who wasn't there was George Pavaramo.
Oh,
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
he must have been filming. I know George would be there. if he
George
could.
would have been there, I
George
think,
would
yeah.
have been there, yeah.
I think he would have, yeah.
I talked to him before the event, and he thought he could make it, and then he called me up like a day before. But I saw George at ICAST the other day.
Did you get?
Yeah, and we scheduled. We're going to do a podcast with George, so that'll be cool.
That'll be a good one.
yeah, that'll be cool.
You know, I leave for Bolivia with Rick Murphy and some of his sponsors on I think the 8th, which is the following day that you're talking about.
Really?
So who knows? Maybe if Mr. Murphy's got some free time, we'll get him to show up to Lambrehcts and
Yeah.
do a little hangout with the guys. And,
I've reached out to him over the years, but he's not exactly right around the corner or
No,
anything.
he's down in Homestead, so it would be a little bit of a.
Where's
drive for him.
Lambrehcts going to be this year?
We're going to do the Tarpon River Brewery.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good place to do it.
Great place.
And you know, we'll do all the same stuff. I don't know if we're going to give away quite as much as we used to give away in the past. But we try to get as many kids that you know, get them as many kids that are, you know, into the fishing there, so they can hang out with some of the pros and get some photos. But we'll start advertising it this week, and
Great.
yeah, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, we'll share it on social media and draw some attention to it.
So
It was really a great time.
Brian, how many miles did we go that day when we fished?
I would say we did just short of 100.
You should ask him how many miles are on his car.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, how much is on the car?
Well, it's a 2006 Toyota 4Runner, and it's got 315,000.
Nice.
When you drive every day to go to work, as
92
far as
miles one way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna put a few miles on your car.
All highway driving, though. When I leave my house, I have like 2 red lights, and then I'm on the road, and I don't stop till I get there.
Well, you should really get into all the different podcasts then. You got a decent ride. You can kind of.
Yeah, he's got enough time to listen.
I don't mean
to
just
it.
my podcast, but any podcast in general.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
we
a,
listen
And
to
this
one
is
of
all
yours,
new
Jeff.
for me. I don't even know how to find this. So
Well,
I mean, that's a great question, right? I mean,
no, well, it's a question. But it's so easy compared to other forms of
Is it?
social media. Yeah, like I use what kind of phone you use? What do you got there?
I got a cell phone.
I mean, is
Use
that
it
a
right now.
is that an iPhone? That's an
Yeah,
iPhone.
it's an
Looks like,
iPhone.
looks like an
Right.
iPhone.
So an iPhone, all you do is find that little purple thing that says podcast. It's on there somewhere. But anyway, you find that.
Oh, it's under photography?
Mine was. But anyway, that little purple thing.
I've seen it before.
It's on there somewhere.
It's-
You just hit that, and then you type in the search button.
Well, that's going to be the $1 million question
Spotify
now.
has it too, though,
How
right?
do
If you
I-
have Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify,
How do I
iTunes,
find
they
this
all
thing
got
now?
it. I'm going to show you
well,
afterwards.
I'll leave
Okay.
it up to a fishing guy to figure out his iPhone.
No, but I mean-
he's good at fishing.
Unlike,
No, I'm not bad with the phone. I've never seen that icon before.
Well, and all you have to do is click it, and then
And then what happens? It just anything you want to. It
an-
just
anything that you
menu?
want. Yeah, there's a menu, but just like you want to see the Waypoint TV collection of podcasts. and then you can look at those and find out which ones you want to listen to.
Okay.
Mine, you just type in Lunker Dog's Real Guy Show, pops right up, shows you all the different episodes.
Awesome.
But driving an hour in 20 minutes every day,
Okay.
I mean,
perfect.
I forced Mike to listen to one of the podcasts on the way back, and it was like a 40-minute one, so we got through it pretty quickly.
You didn't force me to.
And who was it?
It was one of the ones that I did.
Who'd you do it with?
Which one did we listen to?
It was the Jaws episode.
One of the Jaws episodes?
Yeah.
During the 4th of July, we did 5 different episodes on Jaws.
Okay.
And then leading to the final episode, which was, if we had Jaws playing on the TV, you sync it up with the podcast, and then you click at the same time. And then the people watching the TV can listen to us bullshit about Jaws.
No kidding.
So anyway, it was one of the
That's great.
Jaws ones. But I wanted Mike to listen to the podcast on the way back because I wanted to see if he would laugh. Because in our podcast, in a lot of these adventure or sportsman's podcasts,
They're too serious, right?
they're so
Way
fucking serious, and they're like, it's all like.
So was he laughing?
Yeah, he broke out and
cracking
laughed
up, right?
3 or 4 times.
I mean, to me, this is sitting around bullshitting, talking about fishing right up my alley.
I hadn't watched
buddy.
Jaws in years, and just hearing Jeff talk about Jaws, I think was just funny in itself. Even though I didn't know what the hell he was talking about most of the time, I have to rewatch it. But
we're the only ones on that whole Waypoint platform that let's just say have a lighter side to the podcast.
it's just an original idea, though. I feel like it was just funny.
It's not like you're trying to prove to everybody that you're the best fisherman on the planet. You're just, hey, we're a bunch of real guys talking about fishing.
And it was
having a
pouring
good
down
time.
rain the entire. Remember that? It started
yeah.
almost basically hailing. It was pouring down rain, and we were thinking about Brian. We were like, man, hopefully Brian's done cleaning the boat. Well, if he's not cleaning the boat, then the rain will clean the boat. But,
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think I just made
that's
it.
That's like summer, and that's what the weather's been like, right? It's
No
been crazy.
kidding.
It's
been
crazy.
Yeah, moving a lot of trips around, trying to fish around the weather. But I'm sure I'm not the only one this time of year.
Well, to me, all right, now catching all those fish. And okay, now we caught a couple of nice snooks right when we first started.
Mm-hmm. After we caught the bait.
Right, we got bait with
Let's lead back to the bait. Let's see. My shoulder was bothering me, so you were nice enough to say, hey, let me throw the net. So while you were working on the net, and anybody that's ever tried to cast net threadfin herrings, I don't care if you're in 2 feet of water or 20 feet of water, you better be pretty good at it because they're not the easiest baits to catch. So I had the sabiki rig out, and I'm picking away 1, 2 at a time, sometimes 3 or 4, and then next thing you know, get out of my way, I got a net full of bait. So we were good on bait after that.
Yeah, it was the clockwork. We got the bait. We went to the snook spot. We got a couple snooks.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was off to go get a couple triple tail. All right. So we roll out there. We get a couple.
And that was something that you weren't used to because you associate a triple tail with some sort of floating debris offshore. Hey, let's try to catch a dolphin and let's see what's underneath that bucket over there. Oh man, there's a nice triple tail.
Right. Definitely no triple tail spots in my book.
Yeah, we didn't
know what I
have
mean?
a bucket to fish. We were fishing deadfalls from a hurricane we had 2.5 years ago.
Brian has fucking triple tail spots and plenty of them. And we roll up there and we get the triple tail.
I have so many of them, we name them.
The spots or the
Yeah.
triple tail?
We name them. They're the spots are, they're either named after somebody that just struck me at the time, or I don't know. It's near something, or just I try to create some humor in it too. So
Those of you
I think
that
one might even be CCA Mike or something. I don't know.
that's a sad spot. It's probably the worst spot you have. So it's funny because you look at it. Anybody that knows what a triple tail looks like, they don't have big mouths, right? And we're using pretty good sized threadfin herrings,
Right.
And I've never seen a fish with such a small mouth take down
Right.
such a large threadfin,
And I think the
literally
whole-
no effort at all.
Right. The whole time I'm preaching, let them eat it, let them eat it, let them eat it. Don't pull hard. The first thing that somebody wants to do when they feel that thump, it's like a snook bite. Thump.
Right.
You want to rear back and give it the heat, but you can't do that. You pull it right out of their little mouth. So if you kind of just slow it down a little bit and let him eat it and just get tight and let him start pulling a little bit, you got a way better shot of keeping him on.
So we crushed some triple tail.
And they were good sized
Big
fish,
ones
right?
too, yeah.
There's some nice
So
ones.
they're on your Instagram, I think. If you go to,
Yeah.
if you look on Instagram, and
Sanders Outdoor Guide.
yeah,
Right.
Sanders Outdoor Guide. He's got tons of pictures of big snooks, triple tails, big, just about everything. They have big permits over there, which we'll get into about the permits and the sharks. That's a whole nother. We'll get into that, but That's one thing. You'll see duck hunting pictures, and we'll talk about your duck trips too, because that's coming up, and I'm getting excited for that. But let's get back to fishing.
Well, unlike you two guys that splatted your photos all over social media.
I wasn't going to do it, and then I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it. I think I even wrote that.
I couldn't wait.
I had a strategy
because he started posting stuff, and it just wasn't to my satisfaction.
Listen, when you date a pageant queen, you got to get your social media on point.
Mike's like half-assing it, and I'm like, screw this, man. I gotta do it right. I think I even wrote that.
Wait.
I can't wait anymore. I gotta do this. So I blew it up like I normally do, and it seemed to go down a little bit better. But
well, they were out there, and everybody looked at them, and people were somewhat impressed about it and everything. But I had a strategy. I'm going to release all mine this week as I promote Brian Sanders being on my podcast.
There you go.
So they'll see Lunker Dog's Real Guy Show featured episode this week, Brian Sanders, and then we get to friggin' sport the piss at all those fish that we caught.
No question. And you can lead it right into LunkerCon in a little over a month from now.
That's right.
A little less than a month.
I don't get to fish as much as you guys, so when I get fish pictures, I got to put them up right away because it's just.
He's so full of crap. You don't get to fish as much as us. Since that trip, how many days did you fish?
Yeah, more than you and I have,
right.
probably. Yeah.
And he's all through the Bahamas.
12 days in the Bahamas.
12,
yeah,
right.
exactly.
I hardly get a chance to fish. You guys, yeah. You are so full of crap. This beer is pretty good.
Yeah,
it
is good. I told you. Well, this is only the first of. This is
What's
actually.
the name of the beer again?
It's called
the reef, right?
Yeah,
it's called a crowler, though, right?
Well, the receptacle that it's in is called a crowler, which is basically
the crowler.
Yeah, the can.
The big can.
Yeah, so they
40.
can. Those of you that go to craft breweries, you can get a growler, which is in a bottle.
A growler and a crowler.
Yeah, this is a crowler because it's a can, so it's a crowler.
And then
with
what do you
C.
get when you're at the end of the night? A crawler?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, but
give me that crawler.
Yeah, so this the crowler, yeah, it's like I said, it's filled with the JMB Reef Ale that we
JMB Reef Ale.
It actually, we
John
Michael Baker
yeah.
Reef Ale, right? So it's our our
have
reef,
6 of
Jeff.
these and say that 10 times in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe. Well, depending on when LunkerCon is and
That's
when
a
our
big
winter
40
deployment
right
is.
there.
It ain't a 40, but it may be 32. So
it's a 40, but it ain't a 40, but you keep it clean.
So no, it was produced by Gulfstream Brewery here in Fort Lauderdale, and these guys have done nothing but support support CCA and support what we're doing. They love to fish. Their beer is out of this world awesome, and we're really thankful to have them. And so, I picked up a couple of these when I was at the brewery because they'll can you the beer. And when we made this beer, we created it. It was supposed to be a limited release, a one-time only release, but there was so much popularity. I mean, there was so much demand. People love this beer, and not only is the beer good.
And it's just a special brew that they came up with?
Well, it's our brew. We selected the ingredients. We selected everything, and we did the brew. And Howard and Jamie Jacobs, and they just got married.
Oh, did they?
They did. Yeah,
oh, that's
they did.
awesome. Congratulations, man.
to them.
That's awesome.
They did the brew, and they did a great job with this, and we never really expected to have the demand that this beer created. But when people were coming to the brewery, they're like, "Hey, we call it it's a summer ale." So the JMB Summer Reef Ale, and it's a seasonal type of beer. And down here, I mean, it seems like it's always summer in South Florida, but there was such demand for it, and people, exactly, it's on the lighter side, and so there's so much demand that people said we want more of this. We love the story. People wanted to buy it on the story. They wanted to buy it because it tasted great, and so Gulfstream decided to produce it for another run and continue to sell it. So it's available there right now.
Well, it's right.
And I got another one in here too. That's don't worry, I came prepared. The Graphic IPA as well. This is one of their staples as well. So I'm gonna force you to try this as well, Jeff. And I don't think it's gonna take much forcing for you to try this. But Gulfstream's got it together, man.
I was gonna say all these, this brewery stuff and all this beer drinking stuff's right up my alley because one of my new pastimes at 51 years of age is to drink beers and do podcasts.
Cool.
So, nothing like doing a good podcast and having a good beer.
With some good podcasters.
Right, with some real guys, some good people.
So I got something for you. Nobody really knows who Mike Lambrehcts is because you're a young, up-and-coming
I appreciate that compliment.
professional person. But tell everybody how you got started with the CCA and kind of what your mission is, what you're doing.
Well, shoot, those of you that have listened before knew that I was part of the Sail Club. And so we started that up.
Which is
the
what?
Southern
What is-
Anglers and Lauderdale Fishing Club. We started that up about 5 years ago, or more than 5 years ago now. And I got introduced to the CCA through that, and I knew that our county here, our chapter, because we have chapters for every county in Florida, could use some help and use a volunteer and use another voice out there. And so I got involved, and I really liked what the organization was doing. And
No, it used to be really popular, the Fort Lauderdale chapter.
yeah, Broward
The
chapter used to be
I
really
guess
big.
used to be really big
Yeah,
and
it used to
popular.
be really
and then-
popular. And it
kinda
kind of,
dwindled
it just
away.
when it doesn't get the proper amount of support, here in South Florida, everybody there's so much competition for people's time. There's always so much going on,
Right.
and it's tough to.
It's very
tough
time
to,
demanding,
yeah,
right?
time
Yeah.
demanding. It's tough to keep people's focus on things, and again in this hustle and bustle of this life down here in South Florida, I think as outdoorsmen and as fishermen and what we do, we forget about the things that we have to do that keep our hobby going and that keep our waterways clean, so to speak. Although in Broward, we have our own issues, and those issues are
But it's
huge.
never an issue if you talk to somebody. Hey, I'm the president of the Broward chapter CCA, and and you're always going to get positive feedback from that. Hey, I was a member one time, or I've heard about you guys. I like what you did back years ago with the net ban and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of drawing attention to it.
No doubt.
That's all it
It's
is.
just getting people to understand what the organization does. And Brian, I know you've been a big supporter for a number of years, and you've donated trips to our banquet and a number of trips. And
I think I did 12 trips last year.
Yeah, I mean
Really?
it's been
Wow.
Brian's a huge supporter of the organization, and for the CCA Florida for the state, I'm also on the state executive board. I'm also on the state's management committee, and so learning about the organization from a local level in Broward really got me inspired to want to be involved at a state level, because there's so much that can be done at the state level for fishermen. And I don't fish in Broward necessarily all the time. I go over and I fish with Brian over
Right.
in
Or you
Chokoloskee.
go to
That's
the
not
Bahamas.
Broward County. We fish in Bahamas, and that kind of ends up folding into Florida. And I fish up in Martin County sometimes, and it all kind of ties in together. So I wanted to be a part of the organization at a higher level to see to really help out as much as I can and influence the organization in a positive way.
So this year's Broward chapter CCA banquet was held in May.
Yep.
Was held at Hughes Catering.
Yep.
And under your command, you had how many people that participated?
We had about 200 people that came to the banquet. I think more importantly,
And that was up.
Right, I saw you broke records, right?
Yeah,
that's kinda
we
what I'm
did,
hitting around
at.
What was the record?
Yeah,
Quit being so modest and
Yeah,
tell
you
people
can
what the
tell
hell
us.
you're doing. Because, like...
Well,
and this is all under your command. I mean, you're the guy.
We took over the new leadership group took over in 2017, and from when we took over, from before we took over or when we took over till this banquet, we increased the revenue for our banquet by over 352%, if I think I've got that
Wow.
right.
So that's a big number.
Yeah, no, that's...
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that's
I
huge.
mean, I'm a numbers guy. You guys know what I do for a
Yeah.
living.
No, that's a big number. That's something to be really proud of.
Yeah, we're really happy with it.
I'll salute that.
We're happy with it. We're happy
my
with it.
iced tea.
But we know with this county and the amount of people here, the amount of fishermen we have a lot more to go. And Jeff, I know that you're a supporter of.
It's just spreading the word with that,
Yeah,
man. It
and
really
Jeff,
is.
you're a supporter of Captains for Clean Water, which we support, and we're cool with them. And I think it doesn't matter. There's no, there's no competition. We're all in it for the
doesn't
same
matter.
thing.
The name is
so we all
irrelevant as
wanna
far
work
as what I'm
together.
concerned.
No,
We're
it's a philosophy.
We all share a common
it's a
bond with
philosophy.
that.
It's a philosophy.
Yeah.
I'm at ICAST the other day, and the Captains for Clean Water crowd, I'm hanging with them, and they give me this flat brim. And I've been sporting the piss out of the flat brim.
I've been hearing about this flat brim.
Yeah, but
No, but I think it kicks back, a younger element.
Well,
I think is,
I think it's driving my 13-year-old crazy.
Yeah.
She's not giving me any breaks on the flat brim.
no brakes, huh? She wants you to put a little curve to it?
She thinks that I'm trying to be young.
Right.
And I'm trying to explain to her that I'm wearing.
You're just trying to be hip, man.
I'm trying to.
I'm just trying to fit in.
I'm trying to support the philosophy that let's keep these waters clean.
Yeah.
Why don't you hand over the hat and I'll curve it for you maybe if
Dude, it's a flat brim.
No, it's
bro.
a flat brim. No,
can
it's
curve a
looking
flat
good,
brim.
man.
Dude.
And with the new haircut, man, you're looking tight over there.
Speaking of the new haircut.
I think the day you fished with the day we
that was
fished,
the debut
it
of the haircut, Brian.
I think you got
that
the
was the debut of the
haircut
haircut.
the night before, right?
I got my hair cut really short. I haven't had my hair cut that short, and I'm telling you, over a decade. And I roll over to Mike's house in the morning, and I'm like, shit, I haven't spent the whole day out in the sun
Right.
in a long
I
time.
might need one of those buffs.
So I had buffs on, I had the hats on, I had the sunscreen on,
Right.
And then when you guys were posting the pictures on social media, you were totally freaking out. All
Everybody.
the people that follow,
Yeah.
All the followers.
Because
were freaking
everybody that
out.
follows me follows you. I mean, they're all the same,
This is Ninja Jeff.
Is that-
ninja people out here. Everybody that's fishing, so everybody knows you and me and
But there was parts of my body that hadn't seen the sun
oh god,
in like 10 years, and then we go out there with Brian and sit in the sun.
yeah.
How many hours? 7, 8
at
hours.
least 8 hours, yeah.
And I haven't had that much sun.
Right.
And I haven't
you're
fished-
used to you've been fishing at night, so you're not seeing the sun like that.
Dude, I was crisp after that trip for a few days.
It was worth it though.
It was definitely
From what I
worth
could,
it.
what I can remember
Yeah,
after we did the permit, I think we went. After we did the triple tail, we went permit fishing.
Yeah,
and then
we
we crushed
barely
the permit.
scratched the surface on this fishing
And I think
trip.
we started to. I said, they're not real visual, but I kind of know how this wreck sits. And they're usually with this tide, they're usually kind of in this area.
This wreck was a run though, if I recall correctly. I mean,
Dude, everything
this
was
wreck,
a run.
It was a run though. I mean, this was offshore. We had to have the right weather, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we
I
had
mean,
the right weather,
you
we had the
know,
right day, but I was a little disappointed it wasn't such a visual way to fish those fish. But just memory and doing it repetition wise over the years, I kind of knew where those fish were, and I think we just presented our crabs the right way, and we got bites on those fish.
Brian, that was the most visual fishing I've done in a while, because when I saw a huge school of big permits rolling down the edge of that wreck, and you said, Mike, there they are, pitch a crab right
But
in
when we
front
first
of
got there, they weren't there. They were there, but they didn't come up.
Yeah, but when we saw them come
we
up,
got bites when we didn't see them, and then all of a sudden we started catching a couple.
then they came
Then
up
they started
and
getting active.
it got real, and I was like, this is a little bit of
Now
sight
they're
fishing.
coming up, popping up, looking around, going, what's going on?
No, we literally saw over 100 permit that day.
Yeah.
Easy.
And then we had some sharks kind of interested a little bit there at the end.
Dude, those
That
Goliath
was more than interested, but
Yeah.
Dude, those Goliath groupers are the grossest things that I've ever fished around in my entire life. I thought the sharks were gross.
Yeah.
I've never seen fish that were so willing to follow the boat around off the wreck. I mean, you could have reached down
we
and
were
touched
almost
these.
a mile away from the wreck, and you look down, and there's a 400-pounder sitting underneath
They
the
would
boat.
sit in almost in a sequence. The largest one would be closest to the boat. You could almost reach down and pet this thing,
Yeah.
and then the smaller ones would be behind
I've
him.
had them rub their backs underneath the
Brian,
bottom of the boat.
do you get a
before.
lot of calls from guys that want to go out and
No,
target
not
those?
really. And if I do, they're younger guys, so I'll bring a stand-up rod, sometimes with a harness,
Good,
and
because I'm
we'll
not
target
gonna
'em.
hold back then, because this Goliath grouper crowd is gross. These fuckers call me up and they want me to put them on a Goliath grouper.
It's not hard to do.
I know it's not.
Here's
hard
the
to
hardest
do.
part with that.
Dude, it's so pathetic that I won't do that.
Well, here's the hardest part with that. You got to give yourself some distance. You can't just pull up 50 feet from this wreck, put an anchor out or put the iPilot on or spot lock on and drop a bait down to a 400-pound fish and expect to stop them from going to the wreck. It doesn't happen. He'll pull the whole boat, you and everything else to the wreck. So you got to almost boat in gear, get the bite, pull the fish away, locked up drag, harness, two guys hugging each other,
But you got to understand, Brian, where I'm coming from. I want to hold the people that are booking trips at a higher standard. You know what I mean? Like if they call me and they want to go Goliath.
You want to get them
I'm
out
like,
of the
"Dude,
gutter, huh?
You are no. I'm just saying the guy that calls me to do a Goliath grouper trip.
Right.
Trust me when I tell you that is not my guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And when I was younger, I ate that up. I used to fish some football players, and that's all they wanted to do.
They wanted to go.
They'd hug
tussle in
each
those
other,
things.
and I would purposely lock that drag up with like a swordfish little stand-up rod and a bucket harness and everything. And these guys are literally bear hugging each other. Had Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor bear hugging each other, just holding each other from going overboard because there's so much drag on it. And we're cracking up. And like pull, and the boat's slowly moving towards the wreck, and I'm trying to give it gas, but I don't want to give it too much gas because boom, there goes Zach Thomas flying out of the boat.
Well,
So I didn't want to do that.
I
but
don't know if people know it or not, but when we were kids, it was hard to find a Goliath grouper,
Yeah, it was.
or at least I definitely.
Well, no,
around
there
here.
was a point where, when they first kind of put the moratorium on them, that there wasn't that many of them around, and we saw them periodically. But everybody, I get that question a lot. I probably get that question once a month. How come they don't open it? There's so many of them now. Why won't they open it and do like a little lottery or something on it? They won't open it because their stock assessment, which is the number of fish in per area and how they're doing, is right where it needs to be. So that fishery is
That's too
doing
many.
exactly what it's supposed to be doing right now.
Well, to get back to holding the clients and the anglers at a higher standard, you think about that. That fish is so dumb. Think about it. That fish is
Swimming
so,
trash can,
Well,
Jeff.
he's a little more territorial than dumb. I
Well,
mean, that's his
whatever you-
wreck,
what-
dog.
That fish is as dumb as any
That's
other.
his wreck. And when you pull up, he's like, "Hey, man, what are you guys doing
Yeah,
here?"
but that fish is as dumb as any other fish that other people would call smart.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
I've had people call
opposite-
triple tail dumb, and they're not so dumb. I think that Goliath group has got
Goliath
'em.
grouper, the Goliath grouper is the dumbest fish that we have.
I mean, you can catch them off of boat ramps, right? So, I mean,
I think I saw a big one off of a boat ramp. Hey, what's he doing? Sitting there eating all the carcasses, right? Everybody throws in all the scrap.
that's actually working smart and not
That
hard.
is
So
smart,
maybe we
though.
shouldn't really, maybe we really shouldn't.
You're talking about a guy that took us 100 miles and put us on freaking quality fish for a full day.
With no downtime. I think we ate lunch while we were running.
We could have stayed there by the boat ramp
Yeah, we
and
did.
caught all sorts of crazy shit by the boat ramp.
Oh, yeah, we feed the pet snook there every day. Oh, yeah. And then at the end of the cleaning table, there's been some really nice tarpon there. Yesterday I was there cleaning fish, and the guy goes, "Man, I think I just saw a tarpon roll." I said, "Go get the big rod off the boat." He brings it back. I cut the lead off of it, take a nice little trout belly and put it on there, and boom, 2 seconds later, we caught a 100-pounder in the air, out in the bay, jumping. Nobody around.
You never did that for me.
Nobody around.
Well, dude, he's holding you to a higher standard than catching the marine fish. Like, we could take you down there to A-Dock and do the same thing. How would that look? Oh, yeah, that's Mike
Oh, that's a
Lambrehcts.
CCA
Right.
Broward chapter president. over
Catching
there.
the tarpon off the charter dock there.
I'm just doing a fish stock assessment. That's
Yeah,
all.
there you go. So if I remember correctly, I know it's been a while for you since you've caught a permit, but we caught a couple permit off that wreck, and if I remember correctly, they were both pretty good sized fish.
Oh, yeah, they were good.
The one thing I remember about the permit was the sharks, and
After you fight them for a while,
Yeah,
all of a sudden here they come.
And
yeah.
I've been meaning to say this, but it reminds me of when you watch the TV shows with the tarpon tournaments in
Boca Grande, yeah.
Boca Grande, and these boats, they hook up a tarpon, and there comes a huge, whatever, 500
Hammerhead or
plus
whatever,
pound
yeah.
hammerhead coming and trying to eat this tarpon. And, you got the boats that are driving circles and going in reverse and trying to create as many.
Do you know why they do
bubbles
that? And we did a little bit of that too.
and that's where I wanted to get to
Okay.
was, I think you were telling me, all of a sudden, we see this massive bull shark trying to eat this permit that we had hooked up.
And you have no control over this
None.
permit because
None.
he's 25 pounds.
None.
He just does what he wants
Lays
to do.
on
We're
his side
fishing
and,
20-pound braid and a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader with a little 2.0 hook.
I've never gone in reverse in circles as fast in my life as I did with Brian
So
Sanders.
what that does is that just creates disturbance and bubbles. So if that's why when I do that, I was telling you to try to keep the fish on the surface, which happens to be, the fish kind of is up near the top. He's amongst all those bubbles and all that white water and everything, and that shark just has a little bit more of a hard time kind of honing in on him and gives us an opportunity to fight them a little bit longer and have an opportunity to get them in a net and pull them in the boat.
Now I would know why they call it sport fishing, because
No.
this is it's almost like a contact sport. I mean, we're fighting sharks, indirectly. We're trying
Goliath
to get this fish up to
groupers,
the
everything's
surface.
there.
Groupers are trying to eat them.
Jurassic Park,
Jeff.
man.
That's why I call it Jurassic Park, because you hook something up, and you not only got to worry about the Goliath groupers, but you got to worry about these massive bull sharks that I don't think I've ever seen as many big bull sharks in my life as I've seen over there. To me, it's like Jurassic Park.
Remember what we did with the big permit when we caught them? What did we do when we let them go?
Oh, we brought him right back over the wreck, right? And we released him right over the wreck, so he
Right,
could go.
so he could go right
so he has a chance.
Go right back to his school
right
of
back-
friends.
right
There's
back.
safety in numbers.
Yeah, right back to his shelter.
Well, you guys are, like really conservation minded. What is your take on that Boca Grande fishery?
I think it's just been exploited to hell.
Yeah, because I used
And it's not something I'm interested in. I just
see. I used to appreciate it, because it was a place. You catch a bunch of tarpon and stuff. But that was 20 years ago.
well because it
25
was
years ago.
because it was easy.
It was easier. And I don't think the number of sharks that hang out in Boca Grande were there then.
They've been
like they
fed
are
there for
now.
years now.
The way I look at Boca Grande now, when they fish for tarpon there, it's just a giant chum slick for the sharks.
No question. And as soon as those boats pull up and all those motors are running,
Right.
that's
Here-
the
here
dinner
they
bell.
come.
Here they come.
Here they come.
Any shark within 5 miles of that place, they know what's going on.
Now, do you think anybody? Well, I know nobody over there, but do you think anybody that has any type of clout, like maybe a CCA type of guy, would actually come out and say, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't fish in one of the world's,
They can't because there's too much money made there now. There's
Right.
too many
It's
guys.
always about the
There's-
money.
It's all about the money. There's too many guides making a living there. There's too many people that know about that place, and it's perceived as being like the tarpon
the tarpon
capital.
of the world. They
Yeah.
got them there for like 8 fucking weeks.
So they go there, they get on a boat, and now you look around, you're right in the middle of all these boats, you're marking the school of fish in 40 feet of water, and there is literally 50 boats around you, and you hook a fish, and he jumps once and lands in somebody's boat. It happens every day. Now what do you do?
And then you let the
Are
fish.
you guys okay?
Right.
Yeah, she got hit in the head, but I think she's going to be okay.
Right,
What happened to the fish? I went out the other side.
Right, we let the fish go to get
Yeah,
eaten
they've
by
got
the
slime all
sharks.
over the boat, and the sharks got a big gash in the side of them. But
No, I don't know. Fish.
It's a delicate subject, and the reason why
It
is
shouldn't be
'cause-
that fucking delicate.
no,
though,
it never
because it's-
used to be that delicate.
And it shouldn't be that delicate because
It's only been
it's plain-
exploited
it-
to the point where it's
right,
that
it's
delicate.
plain and
Right,
simple.
yeah,
Everybody can
exactly,
see what's going
exactly.
on. You know what I mean? They, can
They used to have a tournament there. A guy named, what was his name? He
Do you
he
have
was
any
They had the
guys-
PTTS.
yeah, he was the
right?
owner of that.
It was the
and
PTTS.
His name was Jeff. I can't think of his last name, but he. At first, the local guides and everybody that's been fishing there generation after generation used to be this quiet little sleepy place. Now this guy's putting it on the map.
Right.
And you got all this attention. You got all these people, all these teams,
tourism dollars.
all these people, and he's filming it, and they're bringing them over to the beach, and they're weighing them, and they're doing this, and they're doing that. They just got so tired. The local guides and the local people got so tired of it that it just they pushed them out of there. It went away.
Well, I don't know.
So it's to this day, it's still probably exploited, but at least the show's not there. At least there's a little bit less attention to the area. I feel bad to the guides that fish there and have been there for years. How would you like to go? You used to go fishing there 20 years ago. You'd see 4 or 5 other boats. Now you see 50 or 60 boats there.
Or more.
Yeah,
Or more.
I mean, how would you like that?
I wouldn't.
That
And
sucks.
you can't shut it down because you don't want to take we're
So-
we're recreational fishermen. You don't want to take our right away to go fish, right? So it's like that's why I was saying it's delicate because if you go to shut down this fishery now, the guy that's trying to do the right thing can't go fish anymore, and then he's going to ask, okay, so if you're going to do that and you're going to shut this down for us, what's next? What are you
Right.
going to do? Now we can't catch a tarpon at all, no matter where we are.
So
like, what's the next step?
So what these guys do now, like the guys that have been there forever that are really good at it, they don't go in the middle of all those boats. They go on the outside or they go down the beach a little ways.
They get away.
to get away. Now what's happening is the other boats have binoculars and they're watching because they know these guys will find a school of fish. As soon as they get hooked up, good pair of binoculars.
You said binoculars.
Binoculars.
A good pair. I believe Nikon was.
Nikon binoculars?
Yeah.
I heard, that probably makes sense. They're good.
So they see this through their Nikon binoculars and they just haul ass over there and next thing you know, this guy's sitting there all by himself. He's found a school of fish. He's got his clients, and here comes 20 boats. Cut his fish off. He's right back to where he started. He couldn't get away from them.
Right. I don't know.
I mean, it's tough.
I mean, I go back and forth with it, but that Boca Grande is a special place. I mean, I fish for tarpon. We got 3 inlets that I fish. I fish Port Everglades. I fish Hullover. I fish Government Cut, Bear Cut. So if you want to call that an inlet, 4 inlets. And,
no Hillsborough though. You don't do much time.
No,
Pompano?
no. It's mostly Fort Lauderdale South. And you know, they all hold tarpon, and they're all great places to fish. But if any one of those spots ever became like Boca Grande, where we just knew that we were feeding the tarpon to the sharks, I would be okay with people saying, hey, you can't do that.
Right.
And I think in today's day and age, we have to change people's mindsets.
Right. Forget about the dollars.
And you can't hold on. You can't hold on. You
can't say 20 years ago this used to be the best tarpon place, because it's not now.
Right. And guys, just like you and me, we have to change the way we think.
Yeah.
And if it means giving up
something like that, I would give it up.
Then you got to do it.
I would do it.
There's no choice anymore, really. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, we're given a choice, but taking the wrong choice is only going to lead to the wrong stuff.
No question.
You know?
No, it feeds off itself.
Yeah, I'm not one for a whole lot of regulation.
No.
But then again, I am one, I'm totally in love with the tarpon. It puts food on my
Let me ask you a question
table.
since we're talking about sharks now. And this is just my own perception in the area that I fish. We have a huge shark problem, inshore and offshore, doesn't matter. You find any congregation of fish, whether it's an offshore school of fish, a snook or permit or anything, any kind of movement and congregation of fish, or an inshore school of, let's say, redfish in the fall where there's maybe 100 fish moving up and down a shoreline.
Right.
As soon as you start catching those fish, there's a shark or two.
Here they come.
It's like they almost swim with these fish. But it never used to be like that. And I say the good old days, in my book, when I first started guiding some 23 years ago, we didn't have that issue, nor did we ever see that many sharks. And if we did, it was almost a rare occasion.
No, you're right.
What happened 20 years ago to present day is that my theory is there was a huge demand in Asia for shark fin soup.
Right.
Sharks were commercially fished all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of went away about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that why we see the explosion of sharks today?
I think it's yeah.
Is that the main reason?
Well, I think
it's regulation more than the demand.
Or is it just that and the regulations of?
I think the demand is still there no matter what. I think that these sharks are being.
I don't think the demand's there anymore.
I think so.
Is it for sure?
Yeah,
I haven't heard anybody say shark fin soup
they put
in
a lot of,
8 years, 9 years.
I think it's regulation.
They put a lot of.
Maybe in Asia, but not here.
No, they put a lot of regulation on commercial fisheries through the world to quit killing all the sharks like that, and they go out of their way not to kill them.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of the food fish that the sharks eat are being killed in those same commercial type fisheries. So as you're taking away that resource for the shark,
but we are the higher predator. We are the highest on the food chain.
Right.
And we don't regulate it nothing well.
Well, I'm saying we're taking away their food source, and we're adding more competition for the food source.
Think about it, though.
Right. No, I do think about it.
So we regulate that, but now we're regulating the shit out of it, and these fish are exploding. They have no...
It's been a problem everywhere, Brian.
No predator.
Even
you go
fishing
to
in the Bahamas, right?
Yeah, go to the
I was
Bahamas.
just going to mention the Bahamas.
I saw a picture today of a guy, I forgot who it was, somewhere on social media holding up a really big tuna, yellowfin tuna in the Bahamas that had 4 shark bites on it.
Right.
And it was like a 150-pound fish, a really big one. So a fish that big that fights that long in the water is going to get bit by a shark.
Almost always.
Almost 100% of the time.
Dude, even here in Port Everglades, if the tarpon are small, we're catching 50 or 60 pounders, but you catch 4 in a row, by the 4th tarpon,
it's activity breeds activity is what it is. Yeah,
right.
You're going to see one. He's going to show up and go, "Hey, what the hell's going on? What are you guys doing?"
See, we never had that.
You never had that, right?
And we didn't have that problem down in Miami very often.
Right.
and we didn't. There's a few places like Bear Cut where there's a couple big sharks that would hang around, and that one big shark, you almost could name it.
Right.
And then you'd have an
Yeah,
issue.
they have one in the Keys they call Big Mo or something
Right.
that lives under the bridge.
Right, and that was actually a topic because that wasn't the norm. It wasn't the norm. Now, man, it doesn't matter which spot. It doesn't matter what size fish.
It makes me sick.
And there's just fucking sharks everywhere.
It just makes me sick.
Dude, it kills me. And
Because that shark could never catch that fish unless you slow it
right,
down.
right. They're such son of a bitches, those sharks.
And they'll wait till the bitter end. They'll wait till you wear that big tarpon down or that big permit down or whatever it is or that big yellowfin tuna. And now you're at that moment of truth where you're going to get that fish closer to the boat where you can either net it, gaff it, whatever type of fish it is.
They get their free handout.
And then guess what? Here
it's all about free handouts.
Here
They're
it
getting their free
comes.
handouts.
So you probably feel the dagger.
I think it's Obamacare at its finest, man.
Obamacare.
Brother, you said it, not me. That's what I was getting at. But thank you, Brian. I did not say that. This shit just got political. All right.
No, we're not going political, but it's a huge problem, and I don't know if it's a combination of the regulations and
does it drive you freaking crazy when you hear about these people that are all about saving the sharks and having the compassion for
I
the
see
sharks?
it all the time, and they have no idea what they're talking
They think
about.
sharks are cute.
And the
Sharks are not fucking cute. They are assholes of the ocean.
When's the last time you hugged a shark?
I'm just saying. No, but seriously, sharks are the assholes of the ocean.
No question.
But without a question,
they're
not
protected
cute.
in the Bahamas, right? You can't kill sharks in the Bahamas. You cannot.
Well, they're protected pretty much
kill
everywhere
sharks,
now.
yeah,
I think
but,
you can't harvest.
But if all places, the Bahamas are protecting sharks,
especially
the
the
Bahamas-
bull sharks
of
and the
all
lemons and the
places,
bigger aggressive sharks.
But you can go out there and slay 10 friggin' 20-pound muttons in the Bahama.
Yeah.
You know what I
Sure
mean?
can.
So as you're taking those muttons away from the sharks, you're not allowed to fuck with the sharks.
Yep.
Right.
And it's a bad combination.
No, it's
I
not
know
good.
plenty of Bahamians that would really enjoy shark too. So I'd love to give some Bahamians some sharks. As a nice gift when I come back in.
Well, we need to figure out how to make them somewhat edible. And then,
But you can't harvest them.
well,
Can't.
I mean, what do you do?
we got to get with the CCA guys about this and see if they can fucking have some
They
pull.
got to come up with something.
Got to talk to FWC.
Oh, FWC.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to see.
that's
We're gonna have to
a-
see
that's
what the
Christ.
what the populations look like and whatnot. I mean, we've got
Have
good
they?
real-
I'm sure they do stock assessments in
Yeah,
the Gulf
yeah,
and over here in the
yeah.
Atlantic, and
We're all well aware.
Give you an idea.
We're all well aware as fishermen that they're they're plentiful.
But let it be heard. I mean, sharks are not cool. People that think sharks are cool haven't been around sharks.
They watch Shark
they watch
Week.
Shark Week,
Yeah.
and
they listen to these-
It's all drama and it's all for television, but it's in the real world where you and I are out there every day doing this. It's a pain in the ass,
It's a pain in the ass.
and you work all day as a fishing guide to try to find and get yourself in position to catch some fish, and you finally do that, and you start hooking fish. Let's say I find a school of redfish. I've been working all day, not having a great day. It's been a little slow. Working my ass off. I find a school of redfish. We start catching them, and we get them to the boat. Double header, triple header, whatever it is. And guess what? Here comes one or two sharks, and they eat them before we can even pull them in the boat. Now we have 3 heads
Right,
and blood all in the water. The school of fish is totally freaked out and spooked now.
right. Yeah, that sucks.
I mean,
Now what do I do?
how many?
I got to go find something else again.
You got to go another 20 miles.
Yeah, I got to go run again.
How many of your clients, Brian, want to catch sharks? I mean, do you get guys that go out there and they're like, Brian, I want to catch a shark? Because I have a feeling that may be a pretty easy.
Once a year, I get a dad that's
That's
bringing
it.
his 8 or 10-year-old kid and said, "Hey, can we catch a shark?"
Only once a year?
Maybe twice.
Wow.
It's a very
I thought
low
it'd be
number.
More than that.
I get asked. I get asked
very
about
low
the
number.
shark thing. I get asked about the shark thing. They wanna
Actually, the
catch a
Goliath
shark.
groupers are ahead of the shark in that department.
Well, there you go, Jeff.
Well, the Goliath groupers, I think, are going to keep going ahead because it's YouTube candy. It's social media candy.
And they're once you find them, you can get a bait to them and hook them, and it's all drama.
And
Big
then-
rod, all drama, running around the boat trying to get them up, and then you get them up, and here's this giant ass fish
No, and
that
then-
everybody's freaking out over. That really is about the dumbest thing, because that's his wreck. That's
we're
where he
talking-
lives. He's not gonna leave there, and he's gonna come up and look at you because you're there.
Yeah,
Check you out.
yeah. No, it's not going anywhere, and it's probably get more popular. And I don't know. Maybe they'll let us start killing them. and then things will change again. But who knows?
No, let's work on the Sharks first, Mike, with the CCA, then the Goliath groupers. Let's leave those guys
So,
alone.
Brian, do you feel like you got somebody to lean on because Mike's your
a little
buddy?
bit, yeah, a little bit.
Me too.
Yeah, I do now.
And I call him up, bitching and moaning about FWC and
I
complaining
saw.
and
Speaking of that, I saw your buddy
Drew?
Buddy Drew at the same restaurant I saw him at before. And, we got to talk, and I was like, has Jeff been calling you about this whole FWC thing in Miami? He's like, oh, yeah, he's been hearing about it. He's like, I'm up in Broward, there's nothing like, he's like, yeah, it's a problem. Seems like it's a problem. So, but
it's a problem.
he doesn't run his organization like that. It's, or he doesn't run his own operation. Let's put it that way. Broward apparently seems to be much different or much.
Broward's not near as bad as Dade, but it's similar.
Can I crack this beer, Jeff?
Crack it, of course. Are you kidding me? I told you my favorite pastime is doing podcasts and drinking beers at this point.
It's your podcast. I had to ask permission. So,
dude, on my podcast, you're allowed to drink, you're allowed to curse.
I tell you what, I'm
you're not
excited.
allowed to lie.
No lying. Well,
we're
fishermen don't
though.
lie
How the-
anyways.
How the hell can we?
I'm excited about our new governor in Florida.
Yes, me too.
And I'm excited about Ron Bergeron, who is heading up the...
Ron Burgundy, did you say?
Ron Burgundy, yeah. Ron Bergeron, who is heading up the Everglades restoration. And then I guess there's some changes in the FWC that might be heading in the right direction.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Steve Hudson, the local kid from Fort Lauderdale, just became the commissioner. I guess DeSantis makes the commissioner of the FWC.
Okay.
So, at very least, at one of these social events where I see the guy at, like we're somewhat friendly. So I can kind of tell him what's going on. Now, hopefully, that gets us somewhere. But at least I'll know where I stand. I mean, maybe we'll talk to the guy, and he's like, Jeff, this is all smoke and mirrors.
Right.
I get appointed this position. There's not a whole hell of a lot I can do.
My hands are tied, right?
But at least he'll be honest with me.
Yeah, at least he'll be honest. I have a feeling that they'll listen to you, and I think with the right people in those positions, that we're going to see some change there.
I mean, really, the change. I know change is hard, but the change that
it's a slow, gradual change, though.
But the change I'd like to see is a simple, different philosophy in the relationship between guides like you and me and law enforcement, especially the ones that are supposedly looking out for the wildlife.
Right.
Because there's no other people in the world that know it better than we do.
Right.
There's no other people in the world that is more important than it is.
Yeah, I had a conversation with I've known the park rangers over where I'm at, and the supervisor who's been there for as long as I've been guiding. And, I was a hellion when I first started guiding there, and I was wide open, and I'd run into these young, aggressive park rangers, and, I wouldn't put up with any of their shit. And next thing you know, I'm finding myself in court and defending myself because I just didn't put up with it. And one day I was talking with him not too long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and he says, man, you really have changed your tune a little bit since you've had a family and gotten older. I said, you know what? I said, one thing you need to realize is I'm the eyes and ears of this place.
Right.
I'm here every day.
Right.
I know what goes on.
Right.
Okay, so maybe you need to consider that, and maybe you and I work together on this. Because I'm not your enemy. I'm on your side.
Absolutely.
And once I said that to him,
you think he saw the light?
He saw the light.
Because I talked to the head, supposedly the head dude of Dade, that deals with Biscayne Bay and all that. Mm-hmm. And I explained that to him, and told him that that the FWC and the guides in Biscayne Bay were basically adversaries, and they didn't get along, and they didn't.
But that's
talk
true with
communicate.
everywhere.
But he didn't give a squat.
He didn't care.
Didn't give two shits.
He just said that's the way it is, huh?
He goes, sorry that you feel that way, sir.
Yeah.
And gave me that kind of shit. And I'm just like, man, dude, I'm talking to you, man.
I'm trying to give you,
sir.
I'm trying to give
respectful.
you. Well, no, he was being sarcastic.
That's me being sarcastic.
No, he was being sarcastic. He was just being,
yeah. I don't see anything that my officers did that was illegal. And I'm like, dude, there was nothing that I was doing that was illegal either. But they pulled me over and checked me.
So why can't we just work together?
Right.
Why can't we just do that? Let's build an alliance right now, buddy, and you and I, let's work together. You lean on me, I lean on you. Let's do this together, and let's make sure everybody is safe and everybody has a good time here, and let's protect the area and the species and the environment.
Brian, that just makes way too much sense.
I know.
That like
I should be a politician, right? I'm thinking about it.
People tell me that too.
I might be the 41st person to run for president on the Democratic side.
dude, real guys
Probably
in
not.
politics, real guys in politics, not a real good mix.
Not a good mix.
It's hard to be. The only real guy I know that was ever in politics was Bush Senior,
Yeah.
because he took Carl out and he caught fish right here in the New River. So how can I not?
How could you not? Yeah. How could you not like that guy?
Also, my old man
I
made
mean,
him.
bless his,
My old
he's dead
man, my
now,
old
but-
man made him a salt shaker.
Nice.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah. He brought it up to his place in Kennebunkport. He was sporting the salt shaker
How
up there.
about how about those Freeman guys that were up at the White House with the I think it was the Make America Great, and it was the
Or the owners of the Freeman
owners of
boats?
the
Oh,
Freeman
no
guys.
kidding.
You
Wow.
know, they were one of I think 40 American businesses, and it was about American businesses and whatnot. And these guys got
They were thriving in today's economy, right?
They
Oh, no,
got
they're
the
really
invitation
doing well.
to go
I didn't know
to the White House. Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
They brought a Freeman up there, and they
No,
had
there's
the
a lot
Freeman-
of stuff
they
that
had the
goes on
Freeman
that you don't hear about.
They had the Freeman on the lawn of the White House.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's an
come on,
American
man.
company. Those are good guys. I've heard. I don't know them, but I've heard great
No,
things.
they're a great company.
I've got a couple buddies that have Freemans,
No
and
doubt.
it seems to me like they deserve it.
That's a good story, and that's stuff that you never see. Unfortunately, the average person never sees any of that good stuff. I mean, all the prayer that goes on in the White House now, and all that good, good stuff. That's just it's
Where you
just
feel like
past.
the people actually belong. You don't.
Yeah,
You
like
don't.
everybody means something.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's finish up the podcast by finishing up our fishing trip, because I thought it was kind of funny. So we go to all these spots and we crush all the fish that we're supposed to crush, and then Brian.
As we're supposed to.
Right. Well, that's what happens when you get the right guide in Chokoloskee. But then Brian brings us to a spot where a friend, I guess, gave you some numbers.
I don't remember.
Well, it was the only.
Refresh my memory. I don't remember.
Somebody gave you some numbers.
Oh, that's right. And,
And
it was supposed to be a grouper spot or something,
we ran
right?
like 10 miles out of the way.
Yeah, just to go look at it, right?
just
I
to go
remember
look.
that.
And that was,
I didn't like it. I turned around.
dude, that was the only spot that we didn't pull up right away
Right.
and start crushing
I think
fish.
I looked at it
I
and
caught
said,
a
"Oh, I like
big,
this."
big ladyfish on that spot.
Yeah, she did.
Was that the ladyfish spot then?
That's the ladyfish spot.
Yeah, and it was funny because I look over and there's a boat, and I'm like, wonder what spot that is. I look at my machine and it's a wreck that I already have, and I'm like, look how close this is. Maybe this guy got these numbers confused, and that's what he was talking about. It was only a half a mile away. It wasn't very far.
So then after we got crushed by Homeboy's friend spot, then we go in, catch a few more triple tail, and then we call it a day. We killed a fish for the lady at the marina there.
We did, yeah.
And
Very grateful too. That doesn't happen very often, so that's a special occasion. Most of my clients bring their fish home if we keep them and clean them up.
She was pretty fired up to get the fish. Mm-hmm. And we just had a phenomenal day. And I haven't had a day fishing where I didn't see a jet ski or a water taxi or an FWC agent
with a green and blue light flashing, right?
Yeah, the park ranger, but
in years.
We did see a
We got
park
the park
ranger.
ranger.
Yeah, but he wasn't FWC, so
No.
I'm gonna give it a pass.
And how was he though? Do you see my relations with them has changed a little bit?
They were fine.
They were
great.
fine. Oh yeah.
They were great.
You know,
They were great.
They were good,
Yeah.
and then, I mean, I could have. I was just talking about that at the end of the day about how we didn't see a jet ski or a water taxi.
And then sooner came out of your mouth. All of a
Yeah,
sudden,
we saw the lights.
I see a light. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not happening.
But no, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank both of you guys for inviting me to go fishing, seeing what your world's all about, Brian. And I guess I'll look forward to seeing you guys at this year's LunkerCon.
Absolutely.
And hopefully this won't be the last podcast you do with us, Brian.
No, I'm having a great time. I'll do this whenever you want to talk fishing.
I
good.
propose that we go fishing with Jeff, and then maybe we circle back and do another one.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. I'd love you to return the favor, and I don't get to pull on fish very often, so that'd be great. Good,
Well, let's
treat for me.
plan on going out during the mullet run this year.
Okay.
And we'll get together again and we'll do another podcast.
Okay.
And thank you guys for being on the Real Guy podcast. This is a podcast by real guys for real guys. And thanks for tuning in, and run that dog.